Welcome to Fringe Investigations, a podcast exploring topics on the fringe of this reality, including cryptids, paranormal, parascience, UFOs, conspiracies, and other unconventional phenomena. This is a collaborative effort between the Asheville Cryptid Society, me, the Cryptid Guy, and M&D Paranormal, sponsored by the Asheville Masonic Temple in downtown Asheville, North Carolina. If you would like to share a paranormal story, or you have evidence, or if you're interested in being a guest on our show, please contact us at 828-782-3766 or 828-484-1637. Our email address is ashevillecryptidsociety@gmail.com or mndparanormal@gmail.com. Welcome to Fringe Investigations. I am your host, the Cryptid Guy. With me, as always, are Tiny. How we doing, Tiny?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
Glad you're here. And, of course, Slim. Guys, we are so lucky to have in studio the one, the only, Mr. Zero. Now, my friends, let me explain who Mr. Zero is. Mr. Zero is a high-ranking government official that from time to time feeds us information or tells us about specific events that we might want to check into. He's been with the government for quite a while. He doesn't use his real name, and we do distort his voice, and that's for his own protection, his own anonymity. He has helped us out on many occasions, and he's a dear friend to us here at Fringe Investigations. We're going to talk about something that the people in the local community here in Asheville already know about, but for those of you who don't know, we're going to discuss Helen's Bridge. Mr. Zero, what's your thoughts on Helen's Bridge? You're a local.
Helen's Bridge is an interesting place in Asheville's history. You can say that. Everybody has their own ideas and theories and concepts about what makes it what it is.
Do you believe there's anything special about Helen's Bridge, Mr. Zero?
I mean, I believe there's something special. I wouldn't say it's super paranormal there.
Has anything ever popped up on your specific radar about Helen's Bridge?
You know, I used to spend a lot of time near Helen's Bridge. I was living at a location close by the Helen's Bridge for maybe 2.5, 3 years. I used to walk under it a lot. I spent a lot of time there. I've talked to a lot of people that have had first-hand accounts. I personally never had anything happen there, but I do believe that the people, when they say something happened to them.
For those of you who don't know what Helen's Bridge is, picture any small town USA. There's a place that you go when you get your driver's license, and you go there and you either invoke something or you say something's name 3 times, and then something will happen. Now, I'm sure there's a place like that in everyone's town. In Asheville, North Carolina, it is a place called Helen's Bridge. So here's the story. The original story with Helen's Bridge is, a long time ago, years ago, there's a woman named Helen. She had a daughter. Her daughter perished in a fire. She was so distraught over this, she hung herself from Helen's Bridge, and from that day forth, if you went to Helen's Bridge and called Helen's name 3 times, several things would happen. If you were in a car, your car wouldn't start, or your car would start and then stall, and you'd have problems all the way down the mountain, or you would get handprints permanently fixed to your car, usually on top of the engine. Now, over the years, the story has evolved many times, and people have seen many different things there. We here at Fringe Investigations kind of go with the Tulpa theory. Tiny's going to talk about that in a second. Before we do that, though, I do want to give a little more information about Helen's Bridge. It was built and designed by Richard Sharp Smith. He's a famous architect, and as far as we know, that was the only bridge he ever designed and built. Along with helping with the Biltmore Estate and designing and building the Asheville Masonic Temple and the St. Lawrence Basilica, Richard Sharp Smith is responsible for Helen's Bridge. Tiny, what say you on the Tulpa? What is a Tulpa, Tiny?
Well, a Tulpa is basically a created entity. To put it very simply, there's been so many people through the years that have used Helen's Bridge as the rite of passage. All of that energy going up there, hoping, wishing for something, it's going to create it. Not to mention all the people that go up there doing various ceremonies, things like that. It's all about energy. It's all about intention. We can create a lot of things, and I believe that's what's going on up there.
So, just for our listeners, let me clarify this. So, in all actuality, what happens at Helen's Bridge is just a manifestation of energy put there by people wishing, conjuring, or believing in a specific incident or power, say, at that specific area.
I believe so.
Okay, Slim, what say you?
Well, I went up there for the first time not that long ago with you guys, and it is a creepy place. I mean, it's just straight up creepy. It looks weird. It's in a creepy part of town. And I can totally get why people would go up there just to, do something like that. Like you said, every town USA has got one of those places where the kids go to scare each other. And this is definitely that place. But my experience there has me siding with the Tulpa theory, because, I mean, you can't come to Asheville without hearing about Helen's Bridge.
Well, you're right, because everyone talks about it. It's on the local Haunted Asheville tour. They talk about it. There's even the trolley tours talk about it. So it's a place that is very well known and spoken about daily. So it gets a lot of visitors. Some of the things that people discuss about that area, it's not so much as that it was actually haunted with the spirit of Helen, an angry ghost who's lost her daughter and now she's seeking vengeance. A lot of people think there was different activities up there. Now, Mr. Zero, I'm not an expert on this, and I don't know if I am speaking of this correctly, but I was always told, and I was informed over the years, that Helen's Bridge became a mecca for certain aspects of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Worship for different entities that would, I don't know, maybe manifest this energy in a not so positive manner. Is there anything in your records or anything in your knowledge that would either confirm or deny that?
So the interesting thing about Helen's Bridge is that it is an abandoned site. For a long time, Helen's Bridge was part of a longer toll road that connected to Zelandia Estate. So for many years, there was traffic across that bridge over and over and over every day for a long, long time. And then it stopped, and it became abandoned for many, many years. And I guess that played into the thought process behind people going there. The idea of the woman whose daughter died there, I think it drew a lot of different groups. You have people that like to dabble in the occult. You have people that have achieved a level of proficiency. A large number of people would go there for different reasons over the years. To the site that once was heavily trafficked, I think that could play into the previous theory that we talked about earlier with Tulpa.
Well, Mr. Zero, I gotta be honest with you, that's the first time I've ever heard that was an active, very active bridge. I was always under the impression that it was just used by the people and the owners of the house in that area, specifically Zelandia. That's news to me. I only thought, even all the stories I've ever heard is they just used to use it to move the cattle from one spot to another. So this is totally news to me. I did not know it was an active area that long ago. That's actually, that changes things a little bit, because now I can see how there'd be different manifestations there.
I think anytime you have a location that's an important spot for a number of people, say theaters or any other building, hospitals, things like that, it tends to infuse that location with a lot of different energy, and when it's immediately abandoned.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Tiny, what's your thoughts on this? Did you know that was an active area?
I can't say that I did. It makes a complete amount of sense. And it continues to be active for, the reasons that we go up there now. So we're just adding that energy to old energy.
I agree. I think just the fact that as many people still go there, I mean, they might not go on it per se, but they are there.
I don't think I've ever been through that area without seeing somebody up there.
Yeah, every time I've been up there, there's always been at least 2 or 3 people around there, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And, as we know, the do not disturb and the do not trespass and all those signs, they're taken down. The fence is squashed down. So, it's a very active area for the amount of traffic that goes in there. I mean, I'm sure if we were to go up there right now, there's probably 5 or 6 people up there, at least on a nice day like today. Fringe Investigations does not endorse or condone trespassing on any property, either city, state, or federal. Please keep that in mind when you are doing your own investigations. We are not responsible for the actions of those people who choose to do just that.
Investigate responsibly.
Slim, Your thoughts on that? Did you realize that was a very active area and then just suddenly kind of became abandoned?
All this is new to me because, I'm new to the area. Learning about Asheville's history has been really interesting. These incredible ties to New York and incredible ties to this underbelly happenings going on that, I can't quite put my finger on.
I understand because it's something you wouldn't think Asheville had all this history. But, it's like I always say, it's my personal belief that the age of a place dictates how much energy and paranormal energy it has. And realistically, the Cherokee Nation's been around this area for 14,000 years. There were settlers in the Asheville area from 1760. That's a long time. So there's a lot of paranormal energy. And let's not even get started about all the feldspar quartz in the area and how that absorbs paranormal energy and how under the right circumstances that, it can be released. So if you go with that theory, then Helen's Bridge would be a very paranormal area, specifically because of those reasons. The age of the area, the amount of usage that bridge had specifically. But I think it got warped and turned into something a little darker than what actually happens there. Mr. Zero, how would you say that probably happened?
When I think of it, it's like the idea, let's say you have groups that are up there specifically trying to do something darker, and then you have other groups that are coming in and trying to counteract that. It's like tearing a piece of cloth and repairing it, and tearing it again and repairing it again. This repeated tearing and repairing is going to leave a lasting mark on that particular location.
Now, Mr. Zero, when you say different types of people, are you referring to people that say maybe are more into the black arts and then people that are maybe into, the white light spectrum of things?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Tiny, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I completely agree. But you also have people going up there that don't know what they're doing. And when you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're inviting in.
Yeah.
If you open something and you invite something, that's a flashlight in the dark. That's going to draw things like moths to a flame. So you don't know what's up there. And then you have people, we know that people have done darker things up there. We know people have been on the white light spectrum, which is a very good explanation of that. And I like that. So you have a buildup, and that light's getting brighter and brighter, so more things are coming. More people are willing things there and saying, come here.
Mr. Zero, since this kind of falls into your field of expertise, do you think that Helen's Bridge at one point in time was a porthole for, say, demonic activity?
Well, first, I think it begs a deeper question. I like to compare it to The Evil Dead versus Harry Potter. Right? Can you go up and find an old book and mumble some words and boom, summon demons? Or does every word have to be perfect or nothing happens? We don't really know that. I tend to agree with Tiny here. If you start dabbling in things you're not sure of, it's like trying to operate a piece of machinery that you don't know how to operate. You can end up crashing the plane.
And we have to include intention in there. As any working that we do is all about the intention.
But do you think if the intention and the verbiage was there, is it possible for Helen's Bridge to be like a portal to hell? Like a one-way door for something on the other side to get through? Would that be a possibility?
Personally, I think the word demon is way overused because they fear things. And in the culture that we're in, especially here in the Bible Belt, anything that is paranormal is demonic, which obviously it isn't for those that have studied it, been involved in it. I think that when you talk about something like a portal to hell, that is going to take so much more than just intention and the right words to open up. That's going to take a lot of focused, knowledgeable, powerful people to do that. And I doubt that's happened there.
You hear that, folks? Tiny doesn't think that Helen's Bridge is a portal to hell. Let's inform the Tourism Bureau, Slim. Mr. Zero.
I agree it would take a lot of focused energy. I would also go so far as to say if we're talking about a portal to hell, in quotes, it would probably require some sort of geomagnetic or ley line vortex, possibly. So if you go to a place where there's been a terrible massacre or like years of intense human suffering, and you intentionally try to invoke demonic energy and you know what you're doing, you might get something.
Yeah, let me say this. Asheville as an area, if our listeners are not familiar, is pretty woo-woo of itself. Probably more than your next garden variety city in, USA. We have the dark witches and the light witches and
Everything in between.
A full spectrum of woo-woo activity.
A lot of woo-woo.
Yeah, so those people are here. And because Helen's Bridge is a focus, whether the original story is substantiated or not, because I know there is, conclusive evidence of dark things happening and suicide happening there. But besides that, those people that are here now, even though the activity is rather new, have been up there and are doing something. Now, is it the right people? Are they saying the right words? I don't know.
Again, this is out of my realm of expertise. That's why we have Mr. Zero here. He's more inundated in these things than us. Mr. Zero, I don't know. I've been told that like in the late 80s and the early 90s that Asheville had a large satanic following. Now, I also have been informed that there are other buildings downtown that have actually been exorcised by Catholic priests flown in from New York City. Would those same people have possibly had anything to do with the rumors or the depictions of Helen's Bridge being, a quote-unquote portal to hell?
Yeah, I mean, in the mid to late 1980s, the entirety of America was gripped in the satanic scare with the Dungeons and Dragons and the heavy metal, and if you did the wrong thing, you were considered to worship Satan, right? And Asheville was not excluded from that. In the late 80s, early 90s, certain things were popping up around town. You're correct about one of the buildings in the downtown area. There were signs of satanic activity, sacrificed animals and pentagrams and things like that. And I think I have no proof, but I heard that Helen's Bridge was one of the locations that people did stuff like that as well. So, I think that would definitely play into at least the idea of it being a demonic location.
Just for all our listeners here, I want to make sure everyone is aware that we don't judge anyone on any of their religious practices or beliefs. We're not smack-talking anyone or any religious fundamentalism that anyone has. We all deal in the paranormal, and to do that, you have to have a very open mind. So I don't want any of our listeners to think we're judging anyone, because we're not. We're just going through basically information that's been passed down to trying to get to the root of the matter, whether or not Helen's Bridge is this portal to hell, is it haunted, are all the stories about it true, or is it just, local folklore? So I just want that to be said. Again, it's just another reason why we do what we do. We do not judge. We gather information and we ascertain that information every way we can, and then we come up with our own conclusions. And that's why we've got Mr. Zero here, because he's a wealth of knowledge about the things that have happened in Asheville's history, and he has knowledge that pretty much, to be blatant, most people don't have or can't get.
I think I can speak for all of us that we all have a friend who practices the mystical arts. So
A very dear friend, yes.
Yeah, so we're not in any way, picking on that or picking that out. It's just that is something that increases that kind of activity.
Exactly. And again, we're not saying someone's right or wrong. We're not telling people not to do something. We're just saying this is what we've found as evidence. And since we're discussing evidence now, we're going to talk about our own experiences there. But before we talk about our experiences as, a group, Fringe Investigations, Tiny had a specific incident that happened up there that I have always found to be fascinating. Tiny, would you like to tell our listeners what happened?
Certainly. It was actually the first time that I had ever went there. I was born and raised in Tennessee. I came here at 12 years old. I went through that same rite of passage that everybody else did. Start getting out, roaming around. You go up to Helen's Bridge. You call the name and see what happens. Well, I was a little bit older when it happened. I was with my ex-wife and her brother and a good friend of mine. We went up. We parked, and my ex-brother-in-law, he wouldn't go under the bridge. He was too afraid. And so he made my ex-wife stay with him. Me and my buddy went under the bridge, and we were just raising all kinds of hell. Well, now, like I said, this is the first time I'd ever been there. It was nighttime. As we're under the bridge, I'm looking at it, and I very distinctly see a railroad trestle. I can see through this bridge. I see stars. I see sky. It's a beautiful starry night. We were there maybe 10 minutes. My ex-wife yelled at us and said we got to go. To which we answered, no, we're not done yet. She said, we have to go. So we figured something's going on. Well, we get back to the car, and my ex-brother-in-law had peed all over himself. We actually had to go to Walmart and get him some new clothes. It was bad. And what had caused that was they had seen what they thought was a set of disembodied legs walk across the bridge, which I couldn't figure out because I could see through the bridge. There wasn't anything walking. All right, so we went on about our business, come back about a week later. The bridge is solid. We were there in the daytime. I couldn't figure out why it was solid. I asked my buddy, I said, what happened? What did they do to it? He said, what do you mean, what did they do to it? I said, well, last week we were here, it was a railroad trestle. He said, it's never been a railroad trestle. I said, yeah, it was. No, it wasn't. And obviously, it has never been a railroad trestle. That's the only, I've been up there 100 times if I've been up there. Only experience I've ever had there.
That's weird.
So, Tiny, which ex-wife was this? Is this number 1 or number 7?
Oh, don't cuss me like that.
For those of you who don't know, Tiny's been married 9 times.
Oh, you're so full of it.
I kid because I love it. We did our own investigation as a group. The Fringe Investigations team got together. We did an investigation of Helen's Bridge on a full super blood moon during an eclipse at midnight. And
pretty much as charged up as you can get.
yeah, I was about to say, paranormally, that's about as good as it gets. Slim, why don't you tell everyone how this all took place?
So this was my first time up there. And we all piled in the car, went up there. I'll say this too, it was a weekend night. I think it was a Friday.
It was a Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night. At midnight, this super blood moon, whatever phenomena thing going on. I mean, we took a little bit of equipment. What did we bring up there?
We had a couple Gauss meters, some flashlights. I had a natural EM1 meter.
Just typical.
Yeah, just typical stuff.
Yeah. And we got...
And flashlights.
Nada.
Yeah, the only thing we saw was an old Aerostar van that I thought was probably going to be stuck in the mud. And when we got there, obviously the flashlights alerted the people in the before-mentioned van that we were there. They probably thought we were the police, and they pretty much got a little rattled and left. Other than that, I can't think of anything strange or mysterious or paranormal or supernatural that happened at all. And I'll be honest with you, I was a little disappointed. I was expecting something.
I was expecting something.
I was looking for perfect pictures of the blood moon. I wanted Helen to appear. I was like, yeah, this would be great. And nothing. We all ended up going to a Waffle House, and that was the highlight of my night. So, would you care to add anything on that, Tiny?
No, I think that about sums it up. It was a blank slate. It was just a creepy old bridge on a really nice night.
Now, to the fringers out there, this is one of the few times we were lucky enough to have Mr. Zero with us on an active investigation. And again, Mr. Zero is a little more attuned to what goes on in that specific area and different areas around Asheville. So, Mr. Zero, is there anything you'd like to add to that or anything you saw or noticed that we didn't pick up on?
No, it was, I was hoping for something too, but it was no surprise to me. I mentioned that I've been up there before on multiple occasions, and it's a creepier bridge, but I've been into a lot of other creepier places, and I've never really had anything happen to me personally up there.
If I may say this, though, we're not trying to discredit anybody that has had an experience up there.
Not at
This
all.
was our experience, and we don't believe that Helen haunts that place.
And you have had experiences there, so...
Yeah, what we're saying is the story that we know, that we love, isn't accurate. There's other things. There's obviously other things.
Well, time has a way of changing the story, the culture, it changes over decades, And realistically, the woman that actually died there, I believe her name was Violet. It wasn't even Helen. So the name Helen somehow got thrown in there. Am I right about that, Mr. Zero?
You are. I was going to say the same thing. Another theory that I've heard was when you go back to the records, there was no one named Helen associated with the bridge or with Zealandia. There was a lady who had a daughter named Violet. In the early 1930s, there was a brutal murder in Asheville that gained national notoriety. There's an idea that the name Helen got associated with that bridge. A friend of mine has a theory that the reason activity happens so much when people go up there and say Helen's name because it's not her name.
Well, Our theory, I think I can say soundly, our theory specifically as Fringe investigators, was that it was either a medium for tulpas. That energy there that was derived from the tulpas is probably something that's, I'd say, hit or miss, depending on when you're up there. Frankly, I'm going to debunk it and say there is nothing there, but that's just my opinion. Tiny, what say you?
I would say that, I'm not going to say that there's nothing there. I would say that what is there is self-created and called.
Slim, your thoughts?
I'd be right along those lines. You know, that was the one time I went up there. I didn't feel anything, didn't see anything, didn't sense anything, other than it generally being creepy.
Mr. Zero, as our expert in the area, what's your final thoughts on Helen's Bridge? What would you say? Would you let your kids play under Helen's Bridge?
No, there's too many cars. It's dangerous. No, I would probably say the same as Tiny and Slam. I think over the years, if anything has happened, it's not because of historical events, it's because of what humans have been doing there. I've never had any personal experiences, but I've also never tried to hold any sort of seance or ritual up there either, so perhaps my experience would be different where I would do such things.
So I will say this, though. If you do go to Helen's Bridge and you want an experience, go to Waffle House afterwards. That's where the experience is.
That's where the true haunting happens.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to Fringe Investigations. Remember, if you or anyone you know has a story they would like to share, or you're interested in being a guest, contact us at 828-782-3766 or 828-484-1637. Our email addresses are AshevilleCryptidSociety@gmail.com, CryptidGuy001@gmail.com, or mndparanormal@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our next episode. Have a nice day, and remember, keep believing.